Picture this. You and your ministry try something new. The details don't matter for the moment. Initial feedback on your new initiative seems enthusiastic. Sure, you're working out some of the details, but with a little duct tape and baling wire, the thing works. But 6 months later, the whole initiative is stalled, dead end. The handful of people who enthusiastically supported you have moved on, and a bunch of your hoped-for audience never even gave it a try. This is a marketing problem, and we can help. One of my core marketing concepts come from Jeffrey Moore's book, Crossing the Chasm. Warning, there's some important marketing theory coming your way. This applies directly to your ministry. Seriously, whether you're in campus ministry, Christian education, or church-based ministry, you can apply this today. Let's start with an adoption curve. Have you ever seen one of these? You can map the ways people engage with a new product or service onto a bell curve and chart out a spectrum of different methods and motives of engagement. Here are 5 different postures people have toward a new ministry, product, or service. Innovators. They want the new and latest because it's the new and latest. Early adopters. They want the new tool, resource, idea, not because it's new, but because it's different. They're motivated by disruption and looking for change. They might be called visionaries. The early majority. This is the 3rd segment. They're pragmatic and motivated by improvement. They're willing to try something new once the kinks have been worked out and all the supports are in place. They look for references within their network to tell them if an idea or resource is solid. You could call them the pragmatists. 4th is the late majority. They go with the flow. By waiting to hop on the bandwagon until a new ministry paradigm or resource is well established, they avoid being burned out by every flash in the pan that comes along. Think of them as the conservatives. Finally, you have the group called the laggards. You could tell that innovators made this paradigm. The laggards wait to adopt new things and won't until there's outside pressure, threats, or a significant shock to their system. Marketing theory tells us that these groups tend to follow this bell curve distribution, with 30% in the early majority, that's the pragmatists, 30% in the late majority, that's the conservatives, 15% early adopters, those are the visionaries again, 15% the laggards, poorly named, and 3% in that innovator category. Does this add up to 100%? No, I rounded to make the math easier, just sue me. Note that there are way more people in the center of your market than either edge. This is broadly true even in your ministry space. Here's Jeffrey Moore's brilliant insight. There is an immense gap between the early adopters and the early majority audience, a chasm. What makes this a chasm? Well, the things that motivate the early adopters, like thinking and doing things differently to disrupt the status quo, well, those things actually repel the early majority. The things that attract the early majority, incremental, slower but proven improvements to existing processes, those bore the early adopters. These different segments of your market need different approaches if your ministry is going to thrive with them. You need to learn to cross the chasm. A quick aside, we land in different market segments in different areas of life. I'm an early adopter when it comes to marketing and ministry, as you could guess. And I want to disrupt ministry paradigms for good, chaotic good. But when it comes to worship music, I'll be honest, I like to sing familiar songs and am slow to broaden my playlists. Classic, conservative, late majority, late adopter. The ways you get me to engage with new worship songs will be different from the ways you get me excited about new strategies to generously help people solve their ministry problems. Let's do a quick self-examination to help you dig more deeply into these concepts. Pick one ministry innovation that's come across your screen this year. It could be online ministry or podcast, or a particular ministry resource, or a new technique of delivering coaching. For me, I'm thinking about paid digital advertising to generate leads for new contacts because that's the ministry wall I have been banging my head against all year. Once you've selected an innovation, reflect on how you've engaged with it. Were you just delighted by its newness? How did you respond to its disruptive potential? Did you kick the tires to see if it's ready to roll, check its references, and ask how it could improve your current ministry? Did you decide to wait and see what everyone else does? Or did you roll your eyes and ignore the attempt at innovation? Laggard. Try to lock in, for this innovation, where you fit on the curve. Now the last step, reflect back on how the innovation was marketed to you. Was the emphasis on newness, change, improvement, peers, or do this or else? How did the marketing match your spot on the curve? And what impact did that have on your willingness to adopt? As you learn to think about the adoption curve and speak the language of each segment, you'll find people much more willing to engage in ministry innovation. You'll be better able to serve the people you love. This, too, is marketing.